Hello. Hello, everybody. Hi, welcome, everyone. We miss you all. It has been a long time ago. Today, we'll talk about, empathy. Yeah, hello. Hi, Lasita.
Hi.
Oh, hello. We missed you.
I
First,
know.
how is Genova? Tell me about Genova. He's better?
He's doing much better. He's scared that he might relapse, but he's basically doing okay.
Thanks God. He's still at the hospital or?
No, he just went to the ER one day.
Okay, the Queen Lynn is here. Hello,
Good.
baby. Hello, sweetheart.
Hi.
Hello, sweetheart.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Yeah.
Okay, we only have 3 of us, so we'll wait a few minutes. So
Good.
far, all I got was no, no, and no. So I don't know what's going to happen. Just to fill you in, Lasita, we are writing the book on Mr. Rights and gun control. Why Mr. Rights is fighting for strict gun laws.
Yeah.
So if you feel like contributing, we would appreciate it. Because I think this is something that we all have to say something about, because it's such a serious thing today. What's going on? It's not like it was one incident. There were so many. It's been going on through the years. It just seems to be worse now. So if you can, it would be great if you contributed. And the same thing for you, Mr. Tofik.
Well, I mean, sometimes I just feel like what needs to be said is so obvious that what's the point of saying it almost?
There's always a point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but I know what you mean. But there's always a point to show the world that we care, if nothing more, and that we're trying to show that we really, really need this. Think of enough people do stuff like this. We might, I don't know if we'll stand the chance, but there are plenty of rallies. There's a lot going on. People aren't just sitting back letting this happen. Yeah. So I don't think that that's what we could do either. I don't think we could sit back and let this happen. I think we have to have more of a unified front.
Especially when kids are involved. I said, especially when kids are involved, we cannot imagine. And this couldn't happen anywhere in the world, but unfortunately in America, this free country, the great people, you know.
Free country, yeah.
I actually think,
I say it, free country. I don't mean.
Yeah, I think some of the problem is in television.
100%.
There was it. Mass media, not only television, dear Lasita. All mass medias are responsible for what happened. You know.
But what Lasita, can you say more on what your point is about that?
I think it's the idea that it's normalized. The use of guns is normalized, like it's not a horrendous thing to hold a gun. I mean, that's my attitude. It is just such a lethal weapon. I mean, I'm against weapons altogether, but guns just take it beyond the one-on-one combat situation.
I agree.
I think a knife, other than using it to chop up vegetables, is a terrible thing too.
Anyway,
there's a weapon, yes.
Any form of weapon.
It's an attack to, whatever the weapon uses, as you said.
But the fact, I think the reason that it's getting so much play is the fact that it's dealing with innocent children who did nothing wrong, who provoked nothing. When you hear about gang fights and this and that, you actually understand that people fighting against each other, which is wrong morally, but you could understand the fight. But here, how can you understand people doing something like this to innocent children who are learning in school? I really have such problems with this. I really just don't. That's why the book, because I feel we just have to do more about this.
And the problem is that this happened many times ago. And only the 2 last weeks, so let's say 1 month, things happen in Buffalo, in Philadelphia, in
Uvalde.
Texas, and now another crazy guy killed in hospital his doctor and another doctor. So what? And I'm sure this will there will be more mass shooting. So as Lynn said and proposed in this book, everyone has to stop this. Not only authorities, citizens, everyone. And this is the reason why this beautiful lady, Mrs. Lynn Rosen, is suggesting to write this book. This is an achievement. So, and everyone has the right to put his opinion, to write even 2 sentences.
Mhm.
So,
Great.
hi, Christine.
Mhm.
Good, terrific.
Yeah,
We'll give another few minutes to see if Sanam is coming. And then
sure.
we'll get
I'm sure
started.
she will come. She always here. She always
Well,
comes.
sometimes, people are busy.
So what did I miss last 2 weeks ago?
We just
Mhm.
basically talked about, we were talking about, we didn't really go
Yeah,
into that because I
we
was
talk
waiting
about
for
guns.
you. Right, we talked about basically about Uvalde because at the time it was fresh in our minds and about gun, same thing we just discussed. But this is going to be a little bit different because today we saved empathy for you. I didn't
Yeah.
want to do that and said that you would talk about it. I didn't want to go ahead and do that until you got here.
I
Okay.
sent you the recording, Lasita. You got it? I sent you the video recording of last 2 weeks.
Of the 2 weeks ago, I didn't watch it. I didn't
Yeah.
watch them.
Yeah, I
It
sent it to you.
It was interesting, but it was all about
Yeah.
gun shootings and things like that.
Yeah.
So
I was
we didn't.
probably so preoccupied with what was
No,
happening where
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was that I put it off until
No,
later.
no,
Yeah.
with,
Thanks God.
Genoa that he was sick.
Yeah, he's now good. He's okay.
Thank God.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's something that we don't. Okay, hi Christine.
Hi, Lini, how are you?
I'm
Oh,
just
hello.
see you or we can't see you.
Have
I
you
have a
ever
problem
seen
with
it?
my video. I'm using the phone.
Uh-huh.
You have
Okay.
the camera in the phone. I'm excited to see your face.
If she can't, she
Yeah.
can't. Fine.
You want
Okay.
it?
I'm ready because I'm not gonna. It doesn't look to me like tsunami.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead, Lynn. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, so today we're very, very fortunate to have Lasita here, and she's going to
Yoo-hoo.
talk to us a little bit about empathy. Go ahead, Lasita, take it away.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
the word empathy is all about feeling what other people are going through.
Yeah.
And if we want to avoid conflict, and especially violent conflict,
Mhm.
I'm going to draw upon the work of, is it Matthew Rosenberg? What is his name? Nonviolent communication guy. Well, I don't know his first name. He talks about before you do anything, giving yourself empathy. Before you even talk to somebody who is a possible adversary, you're having an issue with, you're having some emotion about, and just feel what you're feeling yourself.
Yeah.
So to go inward before you speak to somebody else, take a deep breath, go inward and feel what it is you're going through and what it is you need. And even if you don't articulate it, just to be with it for yourself.
Yeah.
And then the technique that Rosenberg suggests has 4 parts to it. The first one is observation. So
Yeah.
let's take an example of, I am watching Lynn, and Lynn's doing something that's annoying me for some reason.
Mhm.
And so I can describe what she's doing, and then I can say, I could guess, maybe empathize, maybe she's doing that because she's afraid. And so maybe I could speculate and say, are you feeling disappointed right now? Did you have, and then I could move on to some kind of universal need, like, did you have a need for autonomy, for safety, for something that's, and then I could listen and see whether I guessed correctly and whether Lynn is feeling afraid, whether I guessed the right need. And maybe eventually, after some give and take, and her speaking to me and actually asking, maybe, what are you going through too? We could get to the point that I could make a request like, next time you put the, I'm thinking of my home situation where my partner tends to get really annoyed about how many things I try to stuff into the fridge, or the fact that when I make a cake, I'll make too big a cake so that it will be there for a week. Like I made some kind of chocolate nut cake. And even if it's good, we couldn't eat that much at a time. So he was saying, could you just make less? We can have a treat, and then another time you can make another one, so it won't be filling up our fridge for the next week. So that's a request. Maybe he would say, when I open the fridge and things start falling out on me, I feel annoyed. I feel attacked, assaulted, and I have a need for tidiness or whatever it is, and order in my life, whatever, so that one gets to do observation, feelings, needs, and eventually requests. So that's
it's also problem solving.
Yeah. And in short terms, feel the other and be in their shoes before, be with others and be in their shoes.
Oh, in their shoes, like
right. I understand sometimes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lorraine. Keep
Yeah.
going.
I mean, I went to a meeting this morning from a group called World Beyond War, and they asked about, do we feel psychologically that war is inevitable? And I gave an example from Newgrange in Ireland, which was, it's a structure that was made in about 5,200 years ago. And the guide there said at that time it was an agricultural society and there was no warfare. And that's one example of war doesn't have to be inevitable. Somebody brought up the example of the Iroquois Federation and how after 7 different tribes, I think it was, came together, formed a federation, and found a way to live without combat, without fighting each other. And there are many examples. The European Union, many of these countries were at war with each other for centuries, and now they can live in peace. And so I don't believe that psychologically we have to have war, and there is a way we can resolve conflicts in a nonviolent way.
So if let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And let Alicita answer it, Tofik, because I think she knows more than we do about this. If you were to sit down with Joe Biden, and he said, Alicita, I heard from someone that you're very good at solving problems, and that you're very good at discussing things. How could you help me, and how could you tell me how to stop wars that are already happening? It's a tough one.
Well, I mean, I wish that I had answers, but listening to people like Fiona Hill, who spoke at the impeachment proceedings
Right.
about Russia and about their designs on Ukraine and that whole Zelensky issue that came up with Trump trying to get a favor from Zelensky before he would give him any weapons. I think listening to his national security advisors and finding ways to talk with people rather than attack them. But I think Biden's doing a really good job, basically. I'm very...
Considering what the hand that's
with him.
being dealt, he's doing a good job.
Yeah, and even pulling out of Afghanistan, at least he recognized we can't protect the women there by being there with all our soldiers. But in fact, things are terrible because they've withdrawn. And was it right? Was it wrong? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to pull in Christine and other people. I don't have great advice other than listening.
Right.
Trying to hear the other person's point of view and to treat the other person on the other side with dignity.
I think that the problem with Afghanistan was the way that it was done. I think that we had taken a little bit more time to understand what was going on there. I think that they're living in crisis and they will continue to live in crisis. Yeah. And as far as Uvalde and other areas like that, I think that when it comes to, we do have to understand.
Yeah.
But we're not going to go back into the war and everything else. I think what the most important thing is what you said right in the very beginning. In order to be able to empathize with other people, you have to first have self-empathy. Because if you don't give yourself that time, then it's an impossible situation. Do you have anything else you would like to say about that, Lucida, about self-empathy?
I think meditation sounds like it's also important that people take time to be contemplative, that people take time to really examine and be honest about the feelings they go through. Another thing I recently went to, and I could send the link for it, was a Roshi, a Zen teacher, and another colleague who were talking to each other, a woman and a man, and talking about afflictive emotions, having feelings of rage even, and wanting revenge, and things that are so not okay for evolved souls to have. But if we can admit that we have these horrible feelings sometimes, then at least we can move through them with empathy for ourselves, that all of us go through horrible feelings. So I just want to hear from Christine too.
Yeah, me too. That was my next thing. Christine, how do you feel about all of this?
Hello, Christine. Unmute yourself.
Okay, me, what I'd like to say, empathy to me is how you sense, the ability to sense other people's emotion, coupled with the ability to imagine what someone else might be thinking or feeling. For instance, like somebody who has lost somebody who has passed on. What I normally do, I always go to that person and I tell this person, I'm sorry to hear about your loss. And I know you will miss this person and I'm here for you. That one, you are really empathizing with this person. And then what really confuses me at times is about empathy and sympathy. Because now sympathy is about, and it involves understanding from my own perspective. Yeah? But empathy is about now the cognitive, emotional, and compassionate. Yeah? So to me, that's how I feel it. And I normally tell people, thank you for getting in touch about what you're going through. And I'm here to assist you this way with this, giving that person home. For instance, if you find somebody has cancer, you'll empathize with this person and give this person hope so that he can be a warrior and accept the situation and then be strong and also keep his medication or her medication and adjust, and then she will survive for long. But
Okay.
if you just leave somebody there and this person pities his or herself, ends up losing hope.
Mhm.
That's exactly what empathy is. It's a very
Yeah.
good way. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say, Christine?
Yeah.
Okay.
The topic is very much okay. I've really enjoyed the topic. I also feel what you people are going through. And I
Mhm.
feel good, especially when I see you traveling. I always feel good.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I feel good when I see you on Facebook moving. I
Yeah.
always feel good.
Yeah.
And I
Thank
also
you.
imagine
Also,
myself. I sympathize for myself if I was on your shoes.
thank you, Lasita, too. Lasita also said the same thing. She said that when I watch you, I feel I'm the train making the trip with you. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Christine,
Yes, really.
we're writing a Mr. Right's book.
Mhm.
Mr. Right fights against stricter gun laws.
Yeah.
So if you would like to write a page or two and tell us how you feel about guns and the dangers that they bring, it would be appreciated.
Okay.
On
Okay.
guns.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially with what's going on with the AR-15s and all the children, innocent children that are being killed and things like that, and why guns are dangerous. And if you have a gun and you have it in the house, at least you should keep it in a lockbox or somewhere where kids will not see it.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that, but we're writing about why gun laws should be tougher than they are right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about it. And if you're interested, write and then email me. So that would be a good thing, and send me the article. Okay, Tofik, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, sure. I will come back to Lasita words. She finished her point of view. And then, yes, we have to first empathy means listening to others, okay, and never prejudge, and also think so deep before replaying or responding to any case, okay. And there is another, moral states that making meditation while thinking of how you react to other person speaking or in any point of view. Okay, so meditation is so important. We can call it prayer, we can call it wisdom, we can call it, meditation, no meditation, personal meditation with no belief in spiritual, or we can call it meditation with spirituality, or we can call it just prayer, like Jewish, Muslim, or or Christian do. But I think he's right. We should just first listen and think of it, and then reply. And prayer is not enough only, but prayer with action, join action to prayer. So this is how we can solve any problem. We can solve any situation, trouble. So let's say what happened in Uvalde in Texas for those kids, innocent kids and people killed. So we can react, and some have the right to curse this guy who killed, or the NRA who facilitate and promote guns, and most of people who commit those mass shooting, and most of people who were responsible of this mass shooting, they should be punished. I don't believe in the act that, oh, you saw he has mental issues, or let's make a trial and judge him and put him in jail, or even, I don't believe in this. Look at God, how he react to any, let me say, sin or bad action from anyone. There was mercy, there was tolerance, but there must be punishment too. Why? Because through punishment, And of course, first we should understand, we should have mercy, but think of those kids who were killed. Think of those black brothers and sisters, American African, who was killed with that horrible mental issue, white supremacist. And guess what? This guy who was killing those African Americans, brothers and sisters in that, he said that he didn't have a bad intention. And more than that, a lot of Republicans, I'm not doing politics, but or let me say white national, just defended him. And same thing happened with NRA in the shooting of Texas. We should stop them. We should punish. And sometimes, and in the scriptures on any religion, talk about this. Someone killing or committing sins, high range of sin, should be punished. That we don't have issue of mercy, or you know what, God is like our Christian brothers. They believe in salvation, or they believe in mercy always. God will never judge anyone. He is merciful. Yes, he is. But here in this life, mercy is not only the only way to solve things. Punishment. And when I say this, I'm not fanatic, I'm not terrorist, I'm not self-centered, but we should practice justice. So to come back to empathy and how we react to all what is happening now, it's a horrible world. I'm not negative, I'm positive, but we only have to stop this. How? Listening, understanding, meditation, prayers, and also put laws or law rules in action. No one should get mercy while he killing innocent people. And what kills me right now, and since I saw what's happened usually, they are kids. And I will finish with that, as Lynn always, analyzes this kind. Think of if you were the parent of this kid killed, or if you were a relative of those black African American brothers and sisters who was killed. If you were, make yourself in their shoes, what would you do? You still go, oh, mercy, that's fine, he has mental. No, you will react with I'm not saying aggressive, but hard reaction. And God is doing his job too. He's watching. I'm sure he will punish those wrongdoers. Not only after, in the hereafter, or in other words. Here, the punishment should be here by responsible who make the laws. They should make the punishment. And God also, he's watching over. He sees, he's watching everything and everyone. He sends karma to anyone who did wrong. This is how I see it. And, I feel bad. Punishment, we should make that punishment. And others, everyone watch how these horrible guys, bastards or killers should be treated. No mercy.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
In 2017 elections,
Okay.
we had post-election violence. It was so sad.
You had what?
Post-election violence.
Okay.
So what they did, the police were using violence. And in Kenya, politics is about tribes. So what happened, the police were doing some shootings in Kisumu. There was a kid who was coming from school. Mm-hmm. She's called Baby Pendo. So the police shot at this innocent child.
Oh, God.
Oh my God.
Justice is being done. The case is still in court. And you can imagine, it pained me because if you look at even the television, they showed well the police shooting this child. Mm-hmm. And then now, when this person has been arrested, he's released on bond.
Oh,
how would
oh my
feel?
God. Can you see that? This is what I mean.
Let her
Now,
finish.
here we are now. This is 2022.
Yeah.
There is a lot of tension, political tension. And we are worried because we might go back to 2017, what happened.
Okay.
How safe are our children? Today, a 68-year-old grandfather has assaulted his 2 grandchildren.
Oh, God.
If you
Okay.
look at those pictures, it's so sad. I'm putting myself in those children's shoes. The
Yeah.
mother left these children and the children are suffering. If I was the mother of these children and I saw what is going on, I would even have gotten hold of this old man and even killed him because it's so painful what he has done to those children.
Okay.
It's so sad. He has really assaulted them. If you look at their bodies, it's sad news.
Well, why didn't she do anything about it?
Now the mother was not aware she had left them, and I believe this evening it's when now she's seeing it on the television,
Okay.
and it's trending now on WhatsApp groups how this old man has done to these children. It's
Okay.
so sad.
What was the reaction of the government or the authorities when they see those kids being insulted or that guy, police guy, killing the child? What was the reaction of authorities?
It's not
Now
police.
what happens in Kenya,
Yeah.
there is a problem with justice.
Okay.
The justice process takes time.
Mhm.
Well, I'm telling you, and then the challenge that we have with our justice system, and also even us ourselves,
Mhm.
we normally solve our cases, we call them kangaroo courts. What are these
Okay.
kangaroo courts? For instance, me, you rape my daughter. When you rape
Okay.
my daughter, I'll go report the matter to the police. First of all, I'll go to the health facility. They write me a P3 form. I go to the police, I share with them. The person is taken to court for the first hearing. You find
Okay.
now this person will be released on bond. I'll return with this person in the same vehicle, only that he'll go to his house and I go to my house. Then
Okay.
in the evening or 2 days after, you find the local administration will call and tell me, why can't we settle this matter out of court? This person gives you this an amount. I get bitter with parents and also differ with the community. If I find that you're being bribed and you settle the case out of court, I'll ensure I arrest the person who has been bribed and even the perpetrator. Because by the end of the day, we are damaging the mind of this innocent child. You know, an abused child might end up being an abuser as well to other children.
Of course.
Oh, of course.
And then now, our government is banning children's homes. They don't want to do with anything to do with children's homes. Why should I say they don't want to do with these children's homes? It has reached a point, whom do we entrust with our children? If you take your daughter or son to a boarding school, don't be surprised, the same teacher in that school is the one who will be sodomizing or raping your own child.
Oh, God.
In Kenya, it's very pathetic. And now it's a high time that now what we are doing, we are trying to lobby the Ministry of Education, whereby we have a gender desk in the school facilities. And then we are introducing what we call sex education, whereby these children, in the evening before they go home, they set aside like 1 hour so that these children are being told to be careful. If somebody wants to touch you here and here, this is how it goes. We are trying to initiate girls and boys forum. The boys forum, we are telling them, try and protect these girls. The girls also protect these boys. So in these forums, what happens? In case somebody touches a girl or a boy somewhere bad, he'll go back to the other children and report to them, this is what has happened. It's when now these children will go and report to the teacher in charge of the boys or girls forum, and they explain. It's when now the teacher, he or she, what will do, will take the child and give him or her accommodation whereby he won't be able to, this perpetrator, to reach this child as they pursue the matter.
Okay.
Other things are so bad here in Kenya. You even find that it has reached a point, if you want to give birth to a child, it's better you relieve yourself from duty so that you can take care of your child. Otherwise, these people we entrust even in our households, we are not safe. Thank you.
Look what you just said about the grandfather. If you're trusting, I know my parents, when my kids were growing up, my parents took care of my children at night when I went to school. They really didn't have much to do because I had already checked their homework before I left for night school. But they were there to support them, and they were there to be with them. And I couldn't leave them alone because I thought that they were too young. The point is, I knew I could trust my parents, but if you're going to leave a grandfather with a child and the grandfather does something like what you just told us, that's a terrible thing, Christine. And I think the laws in Kenya, like in Ghana, they have women, they take students, they kidnap girls, and they sell them through trafficking, through female trafficking. And that's a terrible thing. So
same thing in Nigeria, in Gambia, our friends, members of Lynn. Yeah,
the
same
point
thing
is
happening.
right, we have to teach them how to defend themselves, and that we're not saying. I think that girls have to have courses that will teach them how to fight back. And I always felt that way. I think that whether through karate or through any sort of a way, to fight back without weapons, but to teach them power, that we have power too. Power with the voice, so we can report when somebody does something wrong. Power with our hands. If somebody comes near us, we can say no. And I think that that's what we have to have more of, teaching girls in foreign countries how to fight for themselves.
Yeah.
That's a very big issue.
But now there's another challenge. There is a child, a 4-year-old child.
Oh, God.
On 1st of June this month, they have a headsman who helps them with work. So the parents were in the house, the child was playing outside. So in the evening, this headsman went to his house. They never saw the child. They reported to the police, we can't find our child. They went to the neighbors' houses. They said they haven't seen the child. It's when one of the child said, we were playing with this friend of mine, she's called John. Then I saw your herdsman calling Joan. I don't know what happened. So the following day, since it was late in the evening, the father went to the police and they rushed to where the herdsman lives. When they went, the herdsman tried to run away. The police threatened to shoot him. It's when he stood. The police asked him, we require you to the police station. Somebody is saying they saw you with baby Joan. It's when this man said, yes, I was with this girl. Where is this baby? He took them where he lives. Where he has planted maize, he took them to a hole. He opened the hole, they told him, remove that girl. Only to find that he had mutilated the girl's part after raping her and then buried that girl and killed her. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I ensured that that matter was taken to court. This man has been arrested and he has been charged for 2 cases, raping and murder. He has been sent.
He should be behind bars for years.
No, he has been sentenced for life.
Good. You want to hear that? That you want to hear things like that. Okay, we had an interesting case here last week. I don't know. I don't think it was here. I don't remember exactly where it was. I don't know if you heard about this, Lisita, but there was a case. We were listening to the news, which, by the way, I hate to do anymore because the news is all bad. It was about a 2-year-old whose father, a convicted felon, had a gun, and he left the gun on the floor when they were playing some kind of a TV game, which the 2-year-old, of course, was too little to play. The 2-year-old picked up the gun and shot his father, and his father died instantly. They arrested the mother for reckless endangerment of a minor. But I ask myself, how can a felon be allowed to have a gun? How is it even possible that if you know somebody had a record, that they can have a gun? And that's why Mr. Rights and everything else that we do has to do with stricter gun laws. These are very important. Yes, Lucida.
So I was thinking when Tofi was speaking that if they create gun laws that will prosecute the company that made the gun, then, and I know that they're protected with immunity right now, but if then they'd stop making those guns.
They would have to.
Yeah, I agree.
And to you, it's a simple answer. I think that there was a family from Sandy Hook, from the first set of shootings long ago, and they went after the gun maker. I can't remember which gun maker it was, and they sued them for a lot of money. Of course, they're still making the guns, though. So my point is that I think that we have to revamp the laws, make them a lot tougher. First of all, how do you put an AR-15 in the hands of, how do you allow a child to get their hands on one? How do you say that in the hands of 18 years old, you're still very young? How could you allow somebody at 18? I personally think it shouldn't be till 30. I don't think anybody should have an AR-15 unless they're in the Army. But the laws are against me. And look, after everything that happened in Uvalde, in a Texas town not far from Uvalde, the NRA, Christine, which is our National Rifle Association, which gives kickbacks to every, going from the president all the way down to every gun member. They had a convention at the same time as the shooting took place. Instead of stopping the convention, and they stood up there, of course, it was Ted Cruz, who was the biggest jerk on 2 feet. And he said something like, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, if we didn't have guns, it might not be so tempting. And if we didn't have guns, we wouldn't have as much problems as we have today. Could you imagine? And they still had the convention despite what happened.
Okay. Just I wanna respond to Lasita point of view. Yes, in spite of setting the rules, review the rules, there is one solution: stop any right for anyone to have a gun, but not listen. The military, of course, can use the guns because they serve the country. The police and people who are allowed to get a gun are people who defend the country and people who serve the country and save the citizens. I will give you an example. In Morocco, for example, we have a tough laws about guns, and it works. No one has the right to get a gun wherever he goes in Morocco. And it is counts as a major crime if someone not only use the gun, but own a gun. There is no law authorizing anyone to buy a gun, or you can never get a gun from any shopping center but there was an exception. I'm talking about my country, Morocco. My dad was used to be hunter. He went to Montana and their hands, were anyway. And I remember my dad always had his gun, a big gun, for hunting at home. And believe me, because the season for hunting is limited. I remember in winter and some parts of spring. And my dad was always worried and to keep that gun in a safe place and lock it. And not only that for me, but the authorities always had the right to just come to any holder of guns for hunting and go inside and check if the guns is in a good place. And anyway, the point is that we can allow some people to own a gun, but still, and for simple reason use. No one should own a weapon that will lead to killing others. So stop it. That's it. There is no other solution. And here in US, we must all be against NRA. NRA is a criminal mafia. Yeah, this is the truth. It's a
But
criminal
what you
mafia.
don't realize, Tawfiq,
Yes.
you're here. Our Second Amendment says, we're talking
Yeah.
about I know Lucita was probably going to say the same thing. The 2nd Amendment says you have the right to bear arms. Now, I don't know what George Washington was thinking when I was doing the Mr. Rights book this morning. I started off with the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms. That means anybody can bear arms. And you know what? That's the worst part, because it started then and it just went all the way up. And today everybody's out of control with it. Go ahead, Lucita. I want to let you talk more.
Yeah, before, please.
Please,
Lynn,
let us
these
talk.
10 amendments, no, please, Saddam is here. These 10, the rights or 10 amendments, it's a law. It's not a Bible or a Torah or a Quran. We can change these single right of owning a gun from the 10 amendments. Let's put the 9 amendments up. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
Okay.
Tell him.
It's part
Hello,
of
Salam.
it's part of the Constitution, and the
Yeah.
Constitution
Listen, Tawfiq.
is what every legislator has to swear to maintain.
Yes.
Therefore, I don't even know how you can possibly change the Constitution if you've sworn to uphold the Constitution.
That's my question.
You can make a referendum
It doesn't happen that way.
and change the Constitution.
In America,
Why? Why? So, please, I'm just saying my point of view.
I
I may be,
but it doesn't
Lynn,
happen.
I may be wrong. It's an open
You are wrong.
debate. Okay,
I agree
correct
with
me.
the fact that it should
We
be.
can we regard the laws?
Well, we
to
have somebody
change-
sitting right here who knows more about this than you and I. We have Sanam, who deals with
Go
law.
ahead. Yes.
Sanam, is
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know about that.
I'm not talking about
Hello,
I'm not-
everyone. I apologize for being late. I had a call for work.
That's
so,
fine.
but
that's
I did
okay.
want to say I did look up, and I don't know if you guys are actually going to write a book, but what I
We
can
did.
do,
We
I can
started
send you
already.
guys-
So I need anything.
Yeah. No, I did find some interesting articles about the history of it, of gun
Yeah.
legislation,
We can
and
start with that. That's great.
Mhm.
yeah, and I think one of the things that's right now going on, and I apologize if you guys mentioned this, but is dealing with the legislation that recently passed the House and is
Yes.
going to the Senate.
Mhm.
And we'll see how that goes. There's not a lot of hope for it at this point, but there is a bipartisan viewpoint. As a matter of fact, I think the senator from Arizona, Kristen Sinema, signed off on it. And, I don't know if they have the 60 votes, but it does have that sort of support going in. I think that then there will be state by state initiatives that come along. For example, in New York, I think just recently there was a shift from 18 to 21.
Yes, I know that had to. Kathy Hochul was very instrumental in that one.
I believe that's right. Yep. And you know, I don't know. A lot of people kind of run a parallel in terms of liability with the tobacco industry. You know, how they went after tobacco cigarette makers and tobacco
Right.
companies. And similarly, I don't know if there's the thought process of holding gun manufacturers, gun sellers liable as well. There may be. I haven't heard that as of late. It's more about access and, you know, kind of getting control of people having access to these weapons rather than even getting into the liability portion of it all at this point. But yeah.
Now, Sanam, is there a way, if you have enough people, is there a way to change the Constitution? Remember, the Second Amendment says you have the right to bear arms. It doesn't say this one has the right and that one has the right. It says you have the right to bear arms.
Absolutely. There is amendment process. It's not easy. It would have to go, what it is that it passed by a supermajority in the Congress, and then it goes to the states and they have to ratify. I believe the last time there was an amendment might have been during Nixon and during the Nixon administration. So it's not very often. As a matter of fact, there was a lot of folks discussing this with respect to the Electoral College and how that would go if there were to be an abolishment of that. There isn't, I think, an appetite for that at this point for the Electoral College. I could be wrong. And I say that because what happens is that, you know, people who, I think in that sense, there was a feeling that that was meant to protect smaller states and less populated states, right? Like you have Wyoming or Idaho or North Dakota, for example, be just overwhelmed by the number of people in California, for example, right? So if that's the case, then you have it that nothing from that less populated area will be heard or taken seriously. So I think that's one of the things that really is sort of the focal point in terms of you know, gauging whether it's even an initiative worth pursuing, you know, because that's not an exact quick fix or quick solution. So that would be, it has to have two-thirds, which is a supermajority, right? Like a 60 in the Senate, and then also the House of Representatives. And then it goes to the states. And then 2/3 of them would have to ratify. That's why it might be a little bit of now, it's interesting because with redistricting, that's always sort of a flowing.
Right. Happening right now, the redistricting.
As populations change and people move, states may lose seats, states may gain seats. You know, so in that sense, it becomes, I think, more of a reflection of the current reality. The Senate, for example, not so much. That stays 2 senators, no matter, at this point, no matter what. But yeah, that would be, and you know, I think, and I was told, folks, you know, with elections, that even if you, because a lot of people, for example, in New York, they may say, well, you know, I live in New York, what's the point? You know, it's already a blue state, for example, or what have you. But you can reach out to those, like, for example, if you know that, and some of them may go on record, if you know a particular senator is on the fence or sort of waiting to decide, you might reach out to people in that senator's state and say, make your voice heard. This is how you can email them. This is how you can contact them. Make sure that they, you know, the vote is, let's say, going to be next week. They need to hear from you. You know, they may not listen to someone from New York, but someone from New York can, if you can't get there or if you don't live there, you can at least do some grassroots initiatives and
Like
campaigns.
phone banking. We have so many people that do the phone banking.
Absolutely.
We had removeon.org. There was a lot of phone banking.
And you know, if I guess, you know, the nearest ones here are to New Hampshire, which might be, you know, a toss-up in terms of the vote, and also Pennsylvania. There are some times when people go up during the summer there, you know, and either, like you say, either they can phone bank from anywhere, but when they go there, they kind of either hold rallies or, you know, do like in-person, door-to-door, old-style campaigning. And it's interesting, a lot of candidates say that is, even though the world has changed, technology has changed, that still is very effective. Like, but people should not discount, I guess, the human, and even phone, like when it's live, right? I don't think like email is what it is, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes that personal connection may be something that
different.
Yeah, so I think that's in terms of what people here can do is probably one of the bigger initiatives and avenues to take for us now, especially given that it passed, and it wasn't a huge majority in the House that it passed. It wasn't overwhelming, but it did. I think there were a couple of Republicans that went, and then 1 or 2 Democrats who did not vote along that line, but the Republicans who came over to their side, you know, were more than the Democrats. So that's how it, and I think it's kind of neck and neck actually in the House. It's not a huge majority either there. So, and to be honest, I feel like in many ways there needs to be a recognition of the time, because if come November, they don't have a majority anymore, then that becomes a different topic, you know, a different approach that needs to be, I think, taken. But that's, again, I'm far from any expert, but that would be, yeah, that would be the approach to take. And and in these coming, I think the next 2 weeks, the Supreme Court case about dealing, actually stemming and really focused on New York City in terms of the gun control law will be coming down and be issued. So that will be, it could be anytime. I think their term ends June 30th. So before then, it will be issued. So
early elections are the last 2 weeks of June, or early elections. I think they're the primary. I'm not sure, but I know
they're two. Oh, or you mean they're early voting, if that's starting?
Right, exactly.
I believe so. Yeah, I think. Is it? I think it's starting, if it's not already, this week. And then there's another in August as well. There are 2 primary elections.
I know I was sent a notice about the last week in June. Different states send different notices. You know, different states have different.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not all the same thing. Lorena De La Sita, did you want to say something?
Yes, the idea that bearing arms should just mean that we have arms, but we all can bear our arms. And but the other one was the ability to protect ourselves against a dictator, against a foreign invasion. So the people who are in support of the Second Amendment tend to say that's why we couldn't be overrun by Russia, because people can all have guns and protect themselves, even against soldiers. So we have to learn how to argue with those people who use that argument. But I was thinking about, if it's a matter of the Constitution, then maybe we shouldn't have any gun more advanced than what would have been around in the 18th century. That might be an advance. That's at least.
Good idea.
Because then at least we wouldn't have these multiple
Well-
loading guns and things like that.
Mass shootings. Mm.
Sure.
You imagine a 2-year-old being shot because the father leaves the gun on the floor, and the kid picks up the gun, 2 years old. He doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks it's a toy, and he shoots the father, and the mother is put in jail, where she should be for even allowing a gun to be loose. Now the father is dead, the mother's in jail, and you ask yourself, what happens to that kid? So I think when they were thinking about this, times were very different. And today there's so much violence that they weren't thinking about. That's why, Sanam, any background information that you have, when you get a chance, send it to me as it comes in, because I will put it all in the book. It is so important to know. I was doing some research this morning before I started, and it's so important to know where it started. It didn't just happen today, but crime today is rampant, especially in New York. We have so much crime.
Yeah.
And maybe they're not using AR-15s, but crime in the subway, you're taking your life in your hands when you go to a subway. And I'll tell you the honest to goodness truth. I went to visit a friend of mine in Long Island for the weekend.
Yeah.
In Sayville. I only saw 2 policemen, and they weren't on the tracks.
Yeah.
They weren't down below. They were out practically outside of the station. What good is that going to do somebody who is carrying on inside the station if you don't really? And he's giving the story, our beloved new mayor. We can't get a good mayor. It doesn't matter how it is. He's giving these stories that I am putting more police on the trains. Where are they? I haven't spoken to one person who has actually seen police in train cars.
The road trip when we went inside subway station,
2.
and we took
Together,
two.
going for lunch,
We
probably.
stopped at 2 main stations, once at Astoria, then Babylon, then in Sayville. No policemen.
Jamaica.
When we were back, same stuff. We took the train from Sayville in Long Island to
Station.
Astoria, then from Astoria to New
Jamaica.
York. We just see 2 young policemen, and they were and outside ready to exit. So the funny thing is that we were ready to step the stairs, me and Lynn, and they just looked at us and they said, hello. And they said, do you think something? I said, no, we're okay. And they said, you're doing a great job. You serve the God. And they just simply say, yes, thank you. And they left. But all the trip, and we stayed in every station,
One cop.
maybe 5, no cop. And look what his name, the mayor,
Eric Adams.
Adams, Oh my God, he just thought like a parrot. Nothing for what they say was real. And I heard, maybe Lynn, you can say more about that after what happened in the train, maybe last month. Eric Adams say, maybe last week, that we gathered 3,000 weapons, and now we're gathering weapons from illegal user. So what's the truth about this, Lynn? What did he exactly said? And mass media didn't talk about it.
Okay. They have this thing called, I think Sanam must know about this too. It's churning your guns. That if you churn in your guns, they won't take your names or anything. You put your guns in a box and you walk away. But you're returning one gun. We don't know how many guns these people have.
Yeah.
And that's why to me,
You said 3,000.
That's what they got. It doesn't mean that that's a solution. Yes, it's good to get those guns. The question is, how many other guns do they possess that they didn't turn in? What do you think, Sanam?
I think, it really becomes, I think, sort of an honor system. It's sort of like relying on the incentive, really, whatever it is, whether it's cash or
I think it was cash. I'm not sure.
And that is the motivation, right? That's the motivating factor that's provided. And then, I think that in terms of the numbers, it becomes very hard to really know how many out of how many that there, is this 10% of all that's out there.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's a true way to know because so much of it is not really recorded. I suppose that there could be, that could be, that number could be compared with how many are registered or known to be legally acquired and owned. That really is the only way of any reliable comparison, I think. But yeah, I mean, I get a lot of people have said that's a successful program, but I don't know how much of an olive branch those are. And again, I guess, if it does help, then that's great. I don't know what it would be for. What is the end result? Is there is it going to be a constant string of them? Will it be a constant wave of having this, a consistent program? I know in big cities, there have been like almost, and interestingly, especially during the summer, I think that's when a lot of activity spikes. So, right. They kind of have these initiatives to combat that. But to be honest, I don't know what impacted it. Just this past weekend, there were 11 people killed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And 40, and even the bipartisan, and it's definitely, a hopeful sign. But even in this bipartisan deal from the House, it still could fall apart. There's no guarantee of anything.
Of course not.
So that becomes, and of course, it being an election year for the House of Representatives makes it, all that, and some senators could make it more complicated. I know John Cornyn, who is from Texas, initially said he's open to hearing. I don't know if he's still that way.
They say that they're open, but when it comes to the time, when it comes to the vote, they don't do it.
That could very well. I mean, our attention span is such that, how many people are even going to be thinking about this or talking about this later. I don't know. We'll see, I guess, how many people still are having this in the front of their mind and attention. But this past weekend, there was the March for Our Lives.
Yes, I know.
I did see some footage of that. I know that I think this past weekend was the anniversary of the Pulse mass shooting in Florida. And, it serves, I think, as reminders, I think very powerful reminders, because when you hear the people that survived these instances, and last week with the testimony of the family members, I think one of the teachers from Uvalde spoke.
Yes.
I mean, I think many of the victims were from one classroom, as a matter of fact. So that teacher.
Yes, classroom one. I think the second class didn't have much problem.
And, I'm not sure what would make, the realist in me was wondering what would make this situation different than all the previous tragedies, to make it different, to be the catalyst for some reaction and meaningful change. But I get, I guess we'll see. I don't know what more people could need to see to make up their mind, but either way, I think I'm not sure how many people's minds are changeable when I think certain topics, it becomes like a one issue, people become one issue voters, I did think that it was interesting, and to be honest, when he pointed to the shoes I don't know if you guys saw Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, oh, it was wonderful.
And he was born there.
I know.
Yeah. And you know, he got even a little bit choked up. Now I know some people say, listen, he's an actor.
No, but this is, I think
what he does, you know. Yeah.
He sounded
but-
very sincere to me. I don't think it has anything to do with him being an actor. I think he really just cares. How about that? He's a human being too.
You know, I don't see how and especially someone who went there and met with the families, how you could not be impacted. I mean, when he pointed to the shoes of the girl and said those were her favorite shoes, and that was how she ended up being identified, you know, and he wasn't even a family member, and it really was quite jarring, you know,
It was.
to hear him speak about her. Yeah.
Sita, what did you want to say?
Actually, I wanted to say goodbye because we've been here.
I know we went way over.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I
Okay.
think we can continue this, but I think that we should also think of some positive things.
Yeah.
Positive topics too. So if anybody has any idea of any positive topics, please email me. Otherwise, thank you everyone for taking part in this. We're not going to talk anymore because we did take over an hour. Okay, bye everyone. So now I'll see you on
Okay,
Thursday.
bye-bye. Love you all.
Bye, bye,
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Kristen.
everybody. Have a good week. Be safe.
Bye.
Yes, be
Be safe.
safe. Those are the two most important words. Okay, bye-bye.